Hey guys, have you heard of the chess grind? Now, this video is not going to be talking about the grind where you're eking away that one rating point plus one, plus one, plus one, plus one, plus one. Oh no, I lost 15 rating points, 10 hours of hard work all down the drain. I know we can all relate to that, but this is a different type of chess grind that we'll be talking about here. We're going to be talking about those slowly grinding away at that small advantage, just slowly pressuring, applying the massage on the opponents until finally they break under the pressure, the muscles crack, and bam, we take our way in and win the game. Now, for such grinders, you might think that the best grinders in the world, that I'll be showing you a game of Anatoly Karpov, Akiba Rubinstein, Jose Capablanca, Magnus Carlsen, Vladimir Kramnik, but no, I'm going to show you a grinding game by an amazing attacking player in Nepomniachtchi to show that even the cool kids know how to grind in chess. Now, do make sure also to smash that like button so that I can keep grinding away with making more YouTube videos. Let's get into the game between Ian Nepomniachtchi against Dominguez from the St. Louis Blitz League Chess 2020. I mean, what's happened? Like, while people are doing a million London videos, like I'm doing a million Nimzo Larsen videos, but hey, the people have spoken. I just listen to the people here. So after bishop to b2, black played to move c5, and after e3. Now, Dominguez likes to play the Grunfeld against everything, but if you try to play the Grunfeld against non-1d4, they're going to try to be tricky and throw you off. So he says, well, I'm being really sneaky. You think that I'm going to play my knight c6, e6, and play like good old classical chess, the way that, Lasker, Steinitz, Morphy wanted to do. But no, look at me. I'm one of the cool kids. I play hyper-modern chess ready style with the move g6. But Nepo says, you think you're ready? No, I'm ready. I'm ready. And he played the move c4. And that's what I love about having this against the Grunfeld is that when you have the move c4 and not the pawn on d4, play their Grunfeld move, they're like, where's that pawn on d4? I want to take that pawn on d4 and blow open the center smithereens. But instead, after c4, well, now we're the ones who are hitting their center, so we out-Grunfelded the Grunfeld player. Anyway, the game saw d takes c4, because if you play the move bishop g7, what happens is you go takes, and your knight takes d5, bishop g7. Well, if your opponent's below 1600, it's a bullet game, maybe they'll fall for it. But if they go queen d5, we still have some fun with knight c3. You gain a tempo on the queen, you can go pile up on that c5 pawn, and I mean, we're just laughing at this point. So Dominguez played the right move. He played d takes c4. And you're going to see pretty quickly why I called this a chess grind. Because after castles and castles, well, Nepo decided, I'm going to get my 4.5 points. And I'm ready to do whatever it takes to get it. So he played the move of d4, releasing some of that tension in the center, offering the swap with swapsies on d4. Swapsies back with knight d4. But you might notice there's a position where basically we are playing for two results. That doesn't mean to play for two results. It doesn't mean we play for a win or a loss. That's playing for three results, folks. But by playing for two results, what that means is that we play so that we either win or we draw. And before saying, oh, Max, that's such a professional approach, like so uncool, like I don't want to make 14 draws in a row like Giri or Rajab, or like, hear me out, guys, like this is a really powerful superpower. If you pay attention, this could raise your rating 100 rating points. Maybe even more, actually, but we'll see how it goes. Don't want to over-promise you guys, right? So the point is that, well, we've got the more active bishops, we've got the more active knight, and we've got a little bit of a lead in development. I mean, it's not a lot, but it's something to work with, and black may not have any weaknesses, but hey, that's why we're going to go on the grind. Grind out pestle and mortar, make those weaknesses happen, create some nasty potion in the cauldron for these players. Let's see how Nepomniachtchi did it. Black played to move bishop d7, very solid move, won't go knight c6, trade off all the pieces and trade off into a dead drawn ending. Because Nepomniachtchi is not a genius endgame player, but wait till you see what happened in game. We're going to prove those doubting Thomases wrong. You can also play move a6 if you want to have the move of b5 and put the boot on the bishop. But then one good reply is bishop e2. Like, it's a move you see quite a lot in these positions, so that if they do play b5, we can go, beat you to the diagonal, punk, and hit him like that. It can be a good idea to keep in mind in some positions. Or you can even play a4, which might actually be a better move at this point. So that if they play b4, we get a really juicy outpost on c4, and then we're just going to savor it and grind away, knowing our knights are much better. Our knights are the juices, and they're out in the jail. In any case, the game saw bishop d7, white played knight d2, and after knight c6, we have the tension between the knights. Now, what the average chess player would probably do here is they would think, it's a knight for a knight, knight is free, 3 equals 3, let's trade the knight. But that wouldn't be the best move here, because then that bishop is getting to a much more active diagonal to a capture. All that exchange is done is it's not free for free, it's free for free, plus I got my bishop active, plus my queen has open diagonal, and I've got that psychological advantage that I realize that you are not a world-class technical chess player. So the way to keep that psychological advantage is to play the move that Nepomniachtchi did. He played a move knight 4f3 saying, ha, I tricked you, now your knight is in the way. Now if you put a rook here, you're blocking it. What are you going to do now? Well, maybe if black should actually insist on trying to trade off some pieces, a move like 98 would allow you to trade off that bishop, and also you can bring the knight around and harass this bishop. It's all about hitting the bishops. Like often, Botvinnik said that you could evaluate a position correctly in any case by comparing the bishops. So if you trade off all the bishops, your opponents are not going to have any clue how to evaluate the position. Sounds funny, but you'd be surprised how often it works. In any case, the move a6 is played instead. White played rook c1. And Dominguez, though, being a very tactical player, is like, I don't want to just sit and play moves like rook c8 and just make a solid draw passively. No, I'm going to do something active here. This is Blitz. The people are paying us good money for a show. Reg Sinkfield has made sure that I'm representing the US flag proudly. So let's make the most of it and use that patronage with the move b5. B5 also a perfectly reasonable move here. Well, I put the bishop on e2. I kind of like d3. d3 is a little bit more active. You can always tuck it away on b1 if they go knight b4. Like bishop d3. Knight b4, bishop b1, and we see that everything is all nice and safe here. Then so we put the bishop on e2. That's what Nepo did. And I would put the rook on c8, just fight for that control over the open c file, because that's where all the action is happening. If I can get a knight on c5, he'll be laughing, but it's a bit hard to do it from this particular position. Well, black played the move queen b6, and white played the move a3, just a little sort of edging move, just slowly putting those pieces to slightly better squares, like building like a little sculpture, like hanging everything up all nicely. That's what a3 does. After a3, black played rook fd8, rook in the center. White played the move queen to c2. You could play b4 first, but I don't think it changes all that much. Black decided to play rook a to c8, threatening some nasty little discoveries with the knight to hit the queen and to hit some other things as well. So we had queen b1. And now a moment of truth, where this is the point where Dominguez could have smelt the blood, smelt the blood in the ocean, and started to go for the attack, but instead he got a little bit too cautious. So the way that black should play this, in my view, is he can be a bit annoying with the move bishop to h6. And the idea of bishop h6 is that we're basically getting out of the pin, so now knight is free to move, and we can go bam bam on the e3 and f2 points. I knew thought this was a quiet position, but the key to playing the quiet positions very well is to have a very sharp tactical eye. It's why I wear these special glasses that are basically like sunglasses in it. If I'm out in the outdoors, and not just recording videos on YouTube, that actually go like tinted so people can't read my eyes when playing chess out in the sun. Okay, that was a way longer story than I intended, but okay, having got through the grind of that story, let's now get into the game. You could play bishop f5 as well, just hit the queen. Also, it's what's known as a debate. And believe it or not, I don't know of any chess players that have covered the theme of a debate. So what a debate is, it's basically where you lure an opponent to make deliberately to make a bad move. So the debate is that if they go e4, trying to kick the bishop, we go bam, knight takes e4. And with the threat of knight takes d2, we actually win material. With knight takes e4, bishop takes e4. And this queen is a little overloaded, juggling too many balls, carrying too many babies in the hand at once. After queen takes e4, bishop b2 is just, bad news for white. This is not what makes you a world championship candidate. So instead, black played the move knight to e8. And we're very happy to see this. This is a strategic mistake and a moment that's very easy to overlook because, well, with 98, you're moving backward, not forward. Like, that's the first thing I don't like about 98. And the second thing is that bishop's the guardian of the king. And when you remove the guardian, well, some unwanted guests can come in. People saying, king, pay me, I don't want to pay poll tax anymore. Oh, dear king, give us a special stipend for our business. Oh, king, please give us a Fanta fountain so we can drink soft drink for the rest of our lives without having to pay $5 a can at the vending machine. So you get the idea, it's kind of, not always good to be the king. And here, white could have played this move at b4. Oh, Nepomniachtchi, didn't you follow, Capablanca? There's something that Capablanca, drilled into my head from the grave. I don't know how he did it, but somehow you got this idea, you got a light squared bishop, you put your pawns on the dark squares, But the idea is not just that you make your light squared bishop into a powerhouse, but you're also clearing the way. Say if that knight comes back from whence he came, we can go knight b3 and we can sink that knight into that juicer on c5. Beautiful outpost, hitting the bishop, hitting the pawn, leaving the queen on babysitting duty. And, well, that's not a role fit for a queen to be guarding a mere pawn, nursing it in its arms like a little child. Well, instead of that, Nepo played the move queen to b2, which just to give like a bit of a breather. You could go knight to b8, just go swap, and swap your way to a draw. I think that's what most of the top GMs do these days, just swap, and draw. But at least in classical chess. In Blitz, not so easy because you might hang a piece while you're trying to swap pieces off. But in any case, the game saw bishop to f5. And now Nepo didn't miss his second opportunity. He said, okay, I gave you one, I'm not going to give you two. So he played b4. For a reason I mentioned it, you're clearing them beautiful squares for those knights. I mean, look at those juicy dark squares. It's begging to be taken by a knight as such. I was about to use somewhat offensive metaphor, but I caught my tongue in time. Which something unfortunately that Dominguez was not able to catch himself in time out of the danger. He played move knight e6, saying, I've always got e4, bishop g4, so you're not really trapping my bishop. That would tempt me so much. I'm so tempted to go h3, so I can try to go e4 later. Even if it's not really a threat, just hang it over his head like the sword of Damocles. Oh, am I going to take the bishop? Am I not? Am I not? To kind of keep them guessing. I play the mind games to mess with their head a bit. That's what I love to do. But Nepo's move rook c3 is also very strong, playing the pile-out pressure on the c-file, because the c-file is where all the action's happening. Whoever takes that c-file can do the sucker punch to take out the opponent from there. So let's see who wins this battle. Now, black side's not to actually contest for the file yet. He could go knight b8, put that knight on d7 and try to have a good guardian of the dark squares, but no, he decides not to. He waits for the move bishop g4. White plays rook fc1, building up the pressure, a bit of an annoying pin. Black leads the move knight a7. The move knight a7, I literally had heartburn. I nearly threw up at the sight of having that knight going to the edge of the board. It's actually not that bad a move. The knight is going to come back, well, one of these days, I guess, but not too soon. We'll see that this is what happens. The knight stays here for so many moves. It's Dominguez forgot about it. I forgot that knights also have feelings. Don't put down the horse. Don't dismiss the power of your noble steed, because you never know when that steed's going to kick you back down. So, in any case, the game went h3. I still like knight b3 and sinking knight to the outpost. Once I see the idea, I just want to play it. I don't want to have that idea go to waste and just have it be something I say in the post-mortem to look smart. No, I want to actually get it on the board. Well, the game saw bishop takes f3. Now we see a key part of the accountancy chess of the grind, whereby grinding away, the key to a successful grind is to get more and more advantages. Where it might have just a little nibble, just a little taster of the cheese, but then we get a little bigger slice of cheese, and then eventually we get the whole massive cheese pack, and then just have Festival of the Cheeses and we win. Actually, the Festival of Cheeses, it's a sort of old Spartan tradition, where it'd be these young boys, and they basically would whip the boys while they try to get the cheeses, and Black gets sort of whipped while trying to get out of this mess he's found himself in. Actually, I would have gone to move bishop f3 and put the bishop on nice long diagonal, because I'm kind of partial to these sort of things from having played a million Catalans in my life. But anyway, the game saw rook takes c3. White played rook takes c3, because when you've got this sort of position, you want to... notice you have the bishop versus knight imbalance. The thing is, when you have the bishop versus knight imbalance, you want to keep those rooks on the board, because the rook and bishop work better than the rook and knight on average, but... if you were to trade off the rooks, let's say we take the move rook c8, play in the game, and just for argument's sake, let's say that white trades the rooks. Well, what we see here is that the knight and queen is actually going to be a little better on average than the queen and bishop, because that knight moves very differently to queen. I say it over and over again in the videos, but we don't know whether this is your first video or your 1000th video that you're watching of mine. So in any case, that's sort of the point to remember. The knight has a special power. It can jump over pieces. It can do a pirouette while the queen's riding. The same way that my mum won the Australian High Point Show Jumping Championship because she knew how to get that horse to move the right way. Well, it's the same in chess as well. Maybe this is where my chess talent comes from. Who knows? In any case, the game saw Nepomniachtchi understand his principles and play the move rook to d3, which is kind of funny because actually I think that bishop d1 and bishop b3 might have actually been a better move, because that knight does look a little bit awkward on this square, but, we can't hate on Nepo for being principled here, even if the principles don't always turn out to be precise. The reason I think this was less precise is you could go queen c6, and if Black's starting to get a little annoying counterplay, down that c file. Because once you get that rook active, I feel like black should be doing quite alright here. But instead we had rook to d8, trying to insist on the swap. And sometimes you only get by with a little help of your friends when they say, yeah, I'm going to help you play the move that you were avoiding but you should have allowed. I'm going to let you play that good swap anyway because I'm just a nice guy. So I played knight e5, sinking the knight in. Often this can be a really nice square for the knight because if they go f6, they're kind of weakening their king a little bit. So it's kind of like a semi-outpost or quasi-outpost. So we had rook takes d3. The knight took back. The reason we take with the knight is because we want to sink the knight to the c5 outpost, pressure the pawn and tie up the queen. All good stuff. At the moment, we can see that after queen d6, there's a little guardian on e6, guardian angel covering that c5 point. Now, if I was black, I would say, what is the one piece that is doing absolutely nothing that looks really silly? And I think you guys know the answer to this, right? Well, you can always pause the video if you need a bit more time to think about what is the worst placed piece. But okay, the answer, maybe you commented below with which piece is the worst placed piece here. Well, of course, it's the a7 knight. And of course, the a7 knight, if you want to really have a great chess career, well, you should subscribe to my channel, hitting that button below. Don't forget to do it, guys. Now, after knight takes d3, I think I would have played the move, maybe knight to c6 or knight to c8. Just some move to get the knight to a better square. But black played queen d6 instead. And now queen c3 is a great move. We take that control over this c file. And, well, if black goes knight c6, we go bishop f3 and kick him back, saying, yeah, you thought you could put your head above water, we're going to push you back down to drown. Well, instead, black played the move queen c6, and now is where we see a little bit of edging. Like, this is a part of being a successful grinding chess player, is to see, okay, what is a square that's been weakened in the opponent's position, and then jump right in. Like, play the moves that make the opponent feel stupid, basically, saying, oh, I didn't see you could move that square. Oh, I didn't see you could move that square. And even if it's purely psychological, that psychological advantage can win you a lot of games. And we see that here as well with the move queen to e5. Now, I would have probably jumped the knight to c5, but what makes Nepo's move special is that queen is in the center, and the center is king, baby. Now, black played the move queen to c7. A bit of a passive move, if you ask me. Again, queen d5. Look at how this queen is just getting more and more ground every time. Just inching its way further and further to dominate enemy queen. This way to make you intimidate your opponents. You don't just have to do the Grandmaster stare to intimidate your opponents. But you can actually do it with good chess moves as well. Let's see how Nepo did it. After king to g7. This king g7, this was the big mistake. What Dominguez didn't realize is he's actually under a big threat here. Maybe he should have considered a move like h5 just to try to stop white's next move. Or even some move like knight c6 and, trying to bring your knight to the defense. I mean, d8 is not the most beautiful defensive square in the world, but sometimes you've got to go for functionality over, aesthetics in chess. Sometimes the case of the move looks ugly, but if it works, it works. That's the way the modern grandmasters like to play their chess. But after king g7, this gave white the opening he needed to go from just being better to being much, 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 much better. What he did was he played the move bishop g4, boom, hitting that weakness on e6, threatening to double up those pawns or even just to win a pawn, actually. But Nepo didn't play this move. I mean, he could have been laughing here with knight f8, knight c5. I mean, look at the knight, completely unchallenged, hitting that square on a6. White can just completely dominate, like the queen can slide in, the bishop can slide in. It's just very, very passive for black here. I don't really see a very constructive move. You could go a5. I mean, what do you do after a5? I mean, you can even simply go yum-yums on a5 and queen a5. We go queen e5 and you kind of see that this is bad news for black after queen e7. Now, you might think, okay, Max, it's just a trade of pawns, just a swap, nothing to worry about, nothing to look at here. But with the decisive reorganization, bishop f3, we swing the bishop to d5, and good luck finding a way to defend that pawn f7, buddy. You're gone, you're done, GG, resign. But instead, Nepo played the move bishop f3, and as happened also later, he ended up getting a second chance. After knight c8, said, oh, that's actually a really smart idea. And he played the move bishop to g4. Now, if you want to be really creative, you could actually have played a move of knight c5. Like, I've been begging for this move. Like, I've been sort of containing myself saying, like, if I say knight c5 every single move, they're going to think, like, it's a broken record that, like, I just have, like, edited so to play saying knight c5 over and over and over again. But actually, it's a really good move. Because if black does take it, and if you don't, this is kind of a problem. Well, then we get a passed pawn, and we've got the little distance 4 magic happening on that knight. You can't go here, you can't go here. And you can go to a7, but where are you going from a7 back to c8? I mean, the Melbourne Shuffle, knight a7, knight c8, knight c7, knight c8. Well, it doesn't win you a lot of chess games, unfortunately. He might help you to pick up the chicks, but that's as far as its use goes. Okay, these jokes aside, the game saw bishop g4, and the move that was a genius move before, actually black can still defend here. After knight b6, like, this is a key difference. That queen is now getting counterattacked, and well, we all know saying that the counterattack is the best form of defense. As I guess you guys know from your martial arts as well. I wouldn't know because I just spend my time at a computer enjoying YouTube videos. But anyway, the game went queen at e4. And yeah, black could have just played queen d6. I know it looks kind of ugly to allow the double pawns, but it's not as bad as you might think. After queen e6 takes, I think Dominguez just took one look at this and thought, knight c5, white wins a pawn, and this is just horrible. But it's not that bad. After a move like knight c4, for example, like, white can win a pawn, but it's sort of where the story ends. I mean, after, say, knight e6, for example, what we see here is that black king is getting really active. You know, knight a6, king e5, and I mean, black is going to get back this pawn with king d5, king c4, knight c2, knight b4, and you know, now at this point, actually, it's white who's the one who is fighting for the draw at this point. So it's surprising how the game can sort of turn on a dime like that, just because white got a bit too greedy. I mean, you're not forced to take on e6, there are better moves than this, but it kind of shows that if you're not winning a pawn, it's kind of hard to really justify this as giving white, you know, the win that he's looking for. So that was the way to save yourself, Linear Dominguez, but instead you play knight f8 thinking with knight f8 there can never be mates, but, you know, the grinder doesn't really try to checkmate the king. The grinder prides themselves on never, ever checkmating the opponent's king, but instead just winning a pawn here, winning a pawn there, getting a passed pawn, tying up the opponent's pieces, and making them realize the helplessness of their situation to the point the opponent resigns. That's why chess grinders never checkmate the opponent's king, because with their style, they just don't need to. It's just absolutely barbaric to think you could possibly checkmate the king. That's the only way to win a chess game. Absolutely uncultured barbarians. Anyway, the game saw queen d4, little annoying check, make that king run. I mean, king g8 is at least a bit more safe, because after f6, yeah, knight c5, and oh, I see a juicy outpost on e6 right there. I see a knight f8 that's completely dominated. I see a yum-yum on a6, and well, what are you going to do, black? If you play queen a7, well, here is where we can play the Nepomniachtchi concept of dominate that queen. Queen at d8. Where's your queen going to go now? And that's just horrible for black. You know, I don't really see a great move. You know, if knight c4, we go knight d7, and we just crash you on e7, and Bob's your uncle. Well, the game concluded instead with the move e5. White played queen d3, still hitting this guy here. And after f5, you know, black is trying to attack everywhere, like, yeah, yeah, yeah. But the problem is that when you're throwing all the punches and you don't take that breathe, like, you can get a little bit tired and sort of overextend yourself. And that's kind of what happened in the game, where after knight c4, white played a really nice move, bishop b3. Realizing that if black does take on a3, that we can go knight takes a6, pick up the pawn. Or we can even go queen d5, you know, threaten a queen g8 and, you know, win a piece that way. Or if king h6 and knight a6, and I mean, look at black's piece, got two knights on the edge of the board. The white knight's coming back, the queen can penetrate. Once that queen penetrates, yeah, you're just kind of waiting to die at this point. There's a lot more to the story. I mean, of course, against a computer, you never know what little cheats the engine might pull out of their sleeve. But yeah, this should be winning for white. Well, the game ended instead with knight d6. I think you guys know how to move by now. Queen d5, threaten a little queen g8. Black should probably go queen e7, so at least after queen g8, you're not losing the knight for free. But after knight a6, like, white is up a pawn, and, you know, you're going to win this by queening a pawn. One way or another, like a4, push a pawn. It's not the hardest thing in the world to do. But after e4, then queen g8. And we're being move 48, and Nepomniachtchi reaching the non-existent time control, while Dominguez decided to resign here, because peace odds a bit too much against a world championship contender. So yeah, there you have it. That's how to grind your opponents into submission, get the mortal and pester, put it in the cauldron, and let it bubble in the opponent. Yeah, already sounding like Shakespeare. In any case, do make sure to comment below with what you learned from this video. Like to boost that YouTube algorithm. You know, smash it as many times, like just smash, 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 guys. And also subscribe for more Grandmaster chess videos like this one. I will see you guys in the next video, and good luck grinding your opponents and winning more of your chess games.